What is the science of mind? Hi, Mark Gilbert here, and in this video I want to give you an overview of the philosophy of the science of mind. For those of us who recognize that we're on a spiritual path, a spiritual quest for understanding, we occasionally bump into some philosophy or some teacher that connects many of the dots of the mystery of life for us. Science of mind was one of the handful of things that I encountered in my life that answered a lot of questions for me. Created by mystic Ernest Holmes in the early 20th century, science of mind is considered part of what is called a New Thought philosophy, not to be confused with the New Age. Nor should science of mind be confused in any way with Scientology. What Holmes did was to study science, religion, and philosophy and pull from them what he saw as the common threads of truth. In a sense, it's very similar to what Aldous Huxley and even those before him did in the creation of the so-called perennial philosophy. And one finds that the perennial philosophy and science of mind have much in common. Yet Holmes also focused upon creating a philosophy that was practical and helped us with our lives here on earth, including teaching specific practices. Having studied science of mind for over 20 years, I know that there's many ways to teach it, and you'll find teachers presenting it in many different ways. In my brief overview here, I'm putting my personal spin on it, emphasizing what I think is important to understand when approaching it. Know too that more details will be explored in other videos. So first, why the name Science of Mind? Holmes felt that his practical philosophy could be tested and verified, that each of us could use it in our lives, and if it worked, our individual verification served to make it scientific. And what is this mind of which we are applying this scientific testing? For most people, the word mind means our internal consciousness, our day-to-day awareness, coupled with what we call our subconscious. Furthermore, most people, and especially materialistic scientists, use the word mind to tie our conscious awareness and subconscious to us as an individual and to our physical brains. In fact, many scientists use the word mind and brain synonymously. However, the mind that Holmes described is greater than that. It's not tied to one individual, nor to our brain. In the science of mind, mind with a capital M, and I'm calling it big mind here, this big mind equates to God, to spirit, to what Holmes called the thing itself, the creative and intelligent force behind the universe. Mind can be considered as a vast field of energy embedded with intelligence and love and creativity. A common analogy is that big mind is like the vast ocean, and that we are all like drops of water in the ocean. The essence of everything that is in the entire ocean is within one drop, but the one drop is not the ocean. So although the power of God is within us, the mind of God is within us and available to us, we're not God, and in the larger sense of the word. So everything in the universe, or multiverses, lives, moves, and has its existence within this big mind. Everything is one. All is connected. The world of the seen and the unseen, the material and the non-material, it's all one. Hence everything that exists within mind, spirit, God. Now here's the picture of what is called the Science of Mind teaching symbol. This concept of oneness of spirit is represented by the outer circle. But if you have to imagine that it's not a 2D circle, but rather a sphere, and that it extends in every direction to infinity in all dimensions. Everything, everywhere is represented by that circle. The philosophy goes on to describe how this oneness, or big mind, has three essential aspects to it, which are interconnected. And they're represented on the symbol by the three areas the circle's divided into. These characteristics are conscious awareness, shown at the top, a subconscious creative medium that acts upon our thoughts, shown in the middle, and the manifest physical universe, shown at the bottom. The downward V-looking symbol serves to represent that conscious choice at the top is acted upon by the creative medium in the middle to create the physical world at the bottom. This creative process is playing out at both the macro collective consciousness level, where all of the consciousness of spirit is creative and is playing out in the micro level of our individual lives with our personal conscious thoughts. God creates universes at the macro level, and we create the experiences of our lives at the micro. So essential to the philosophy of science of mind is that thoughts are things. Our thoughts are creative. By consciously choosing higher and better thoughts, we can create a better life. We'll come back to that in a moment. But first, one might wonder, why does all this exist? Why did God or Spirit or this big mind create this situation where at the larger macro level, everything is one, but at the micro level of our personal use of consciousness, at the level of our personal conscious awareness, we tend not to see this greater unity in our divine nature? The answer gets back to the ideas that I presented in the video on our spiritual evolutionary journey. But essentially the answer is that God or Spirit or universal mind created the universe as a place for us to experience free will choice and to be creative. And the only way we could be free to really choose and be creative was by allowing us to forget our unity or source. We had to have the freedom to make mistakes, to screw up and create in a way that's not in our best interest. Yet we're also here to learn, to grow, and to evolve, and eventually to evolve back to our unity, to remembering our truth. Which brings us back to the concept that our thoughts are creative. At the universal level of God, Spirit, or universal mind with a capital M, big mind, we know we're one. But at the individual level of you and I, we've forgotten we're all one. We've forgotten that all of the characteristics of the one are contained within us and available for us, including remembering the creative power of our conscious thought. For most of us, we've been mesmerized by the outer world, and we've learned to think that we're less than others, and certainly don't think we have this divine birthright to create from the power of the one. Critical to the teaching of the science of mind is that we have learned and accepted beliefs about ourselves, and we need to unlearn these erroneous thoughts and replace them with better thoughts. Much of the classes that are taught around science of mind are about exploring our lives and what we believe about things so that we can use the power of our free will choice to choose to see our lives differently. When we create new thoughts in how we see our lives, we change the physical manifestation of our lives. When we are thinking lack, we create lack. When we're thinking abundance and prosperity, we create abundance and prosperity. Hence, science of mind teaches practical tools to change your thinking that will change your life, each of which we'll review in a later video. But for now, know that these tools are affirmations and something called affirmative prayer. Both are designed to shift our own consciousness, our choices, and to truly believe the truth of who we are. Using these tools, we start to see the lives and our lives and all lives around us change for the better. Other tools taught that we will cover in other videos are meditation, to help us experience oneness, and visioning, designed to help us tap into the infinite wisdom of the big mind. So that's the essence of the philosophy. Everything is one. The power of the one is within us. Thoughts are things, and we can use our thoughts to create a better life. Change your thinking, change your life. However, there are 5 related key points about science of mind that I want to mention in this brief overview. First, the philosophy was never designed to be some final word on spiritual matters. It was felt that as we learned and evolved, new information would become available and we should incorporate it into our understanding. Hence, science of mind is said to be open at the top. Secondly, as the philosophy pulled from all religions, science of mind teaches that there's truth in all religions and all of them are to be respected. Third, it teaches that there have been many wise spiritual teachers who've been pointing us to the truth. Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, and many others. And speaking of Jesus, he did not die for our sins, but science of mind teaches that instead he was a great teacher, a way shower, someone offering us truth. Fourth, and speaking of sin, sin's not a condition we were born with. Rather, to sin is to not realize we're all one, that we're all interconnected. Hence, when we use our free will in selfishness from our small egos, from a sense that we're separate from each other. We can make choices that may be in our individual best interest, but not in the interest of everyone and everything that makes up this oneness. Sin, then, is making these mistakes. It's said that we're missing the mark. We're forgetting our oneness. Fifth and finally, like most philosophies, as we approach them, what we take from them initially is based on where we are in our own lives, where our consciousness is. If we come to the science of mind because we're struggling, experiencing problems and lack, what's important is the change in our thinking that changes our lives for the better. But, and this is important, as our lives improve and we meet all of our basic needs, think of meeting the lower levels on Maslow's pyramid, we're no longer coming from lack, and we begin to able to focus on higher needs. And as we embody the philosophy more firmly, we begin to recognize the implications science of mind has for our understanding. It becomes a tool for our growth to the higher levels on Maslow's needs level chart. We begin to focus on self-actualization and our transcendence. We live our lives from a sense of fullness and in our recognition that everything is one, that all is interconnected. The practical aspect of the philosophy calls us to work for the betterment of the planet. We become of service, seeing ourselves as here to love all, assist all, and to work for a world that works for everyone.